Hello. I'm Bridget from Bridget's Astrology, and today I'm going to look at the luminaries in your chart, which is just another word for the sun and the moon. So we're going to go through what they are, what they represent, and also just an overview of what influence they have for the house that they reside in your chart. All right, um, so this is within my Astro coaching group. So once this is finished, I'm going to get back online and talk with the ladies that are in the group here. So this is just the information part that I am sharing. So if you would like to join my coaching group, links are in the bio, and I would love to see you here, or just reach out with a question and I can get back to you at another time. All right, so first of all, we are going to look at the sun. All right. So now often we're like, I'm a Scorpio, I'm a Cancer, I'm a whatever. All right. Now that's just one part. All right. We've got the big three, which is the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. All right. So you can go back and have a look at the first part of the ascendant that I've done. And that just explains a little bit more about the ascendant and its view and like how your ascendant is like your avatar. It's the character that you play and it's what people see. So, but with the sun, it's more about your core, your essence. It shines a light on part of on your life. All right. So say you've got the sun in, I'm just going to use my chart because I have permission. All right, so just say you've got the sun in Scorpio in the ninth house. All right, so now the sun's essence is Scorpio. It likes, it likes investigating things. It likes deep and meaningful conversations. It likes the occult. It likes, those harder topics in life. And because it's placed in the ninth house, all right, it means that, I look for the philosophy in life. I like that higher learning. I want to find that higher meaning that the Scorpio sun is focused on in life. So the same goes for you. So maybe you are a Cancer sun, all right? So you are nurturing and you're protective and you will do what you need to protect your kin and those you love. But its placement might be in the third house, all right? So you are concerned with your neighbors and your siblings, and you make sure that your communication is nurturing. Maybe you are an author of a book that is helping other people to find their nurturing skills within themselves or something like that. But so the sun represents the essence of who you are and your core self. It is the driving force behind your actions and decisions. Again, where's that spotlight in your chart? All right. So it's more of, like I said, it's not your personality, it's just the things that you like to be focused on. All right. So, and it is also how you shine and express yourself because it is the sun. All right. It is also like your battery as well. So depending on the sun's placement in your chart and what it's in, the sun likes, it's ruled by Leo. Okay. So it does not like being in Aquarius because it's that opposite sign. All right. Um, it wants to be all, the sun in Leo, it's about me and it's about me talking to people. Whereas in Aquarius, it gets lost in the crowd. All right. So it is exalted, which means it's in its happy place in Aries, right? Because it's got like full force. It's ruled by Mars and it's just like beaming. All right. It's got lots of energy there and it doesn't really like being in Libra. Okay. So because that's an air sign. It's concerned with partnerships. It's not that it doesn't really like it, but it doesn't have the same amount of strength because it's concerned with making sure that other people are okay. All right. So there's so many things to consider. But if you talk to anyone or go and have a look at any of the, programs, you can always just sort of find those details quite easily. All right, so it is also associated with father figures, authority, and masculine energy. All right, so just like Mars and Saturn, Mars is, like the type of male you like, or that place of exercise, energy expenditure. And Saturn is more of a grandfather time type of energy, whereas again, that Sun is very masculine as well. So it's that forceful energy in your chart. All right. So now the sun in the elements, all right. So the elements are the fire, earth, air, and water, all right. So if you have the sun in Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, then you are more than likely going to be bold, passionate, enthusiastic, and self-motivated, all right. That's an important one because we've got that fire of inspiration. So, you're going to have those focused tendencies with your sun in that area. All right, so earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. You're going to be way more grounded and practical and patient. All right, because you've got your feet on the ground. All right, you're sensible and logical. All right. So, especially that Virgo, that logical, analytical, Taurus are like, if I'm not comfortable, I'm not doing it. And Capricorn's like, what does the rule book say? So, that's a great one. I love a good earth sign. All right, the sun in an air sign, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. All right. So the focus is going to be on your thoughts. Okay. So it's intellectual, communicative, curious and social, all right, because there's all of that air, that flitting, quite I suppose you could say ADHD. There's so much going on in the brain because it's like just like the wind, the ebbs and flows of the wind. You can't see it, but it's there. All right, and of course, water signs. All right, so these are the emotional, empathetic, psychic signs. All right, so that is obviously Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and they are deeply intuitive, emotional, and creative. And that creativity comes from that feeling place within. All right, so again, intuition. If you are a Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, then never doubt your intuition. All right, so. Now, just to quickly read through the sun in the houses, right? So if your sun placement is in the first house, then you have a strong sense of self with leadership and, you are an individual, all right? That sun in that first house of personality, your physical body, your presence, that sun is just beaming out of that first house placement. So that is amazing. Now, second house, self-worth, things of value, finances, there could be a focus in your chart on, depending on the sign, that sign placement is going to be the things that you value in life. So if you are a Taurus with the sun in the second house, then money is going to be really important for you. But then we also look at Venus. So remember, with the sun, unless it's in Leo, it's being ruled by another planet. So we're always, there's just so many layers to astrology. And once you look at it, it's not until you cut that cake that you can see all of those different layers inside. So from the outside, it might just look like a cake with fondant on it, but on the inside, it is a rainbow unicorn cake. So, all right, so third house. If the sun is in the third house, you've got that intellectual curiosity, communication, and your thoughts are really strong. And again, though, you've got that siblings, neighbors, cars, tech of some like, some sort of techie thing. Maybe you're just intensely curious about everything. Information. And third house is different to the ninth house, whereas the information is a lot faster and more not superficial, but it's not as deep as going for a degree, which is more of a ninth house thing, right? So it's more like primary school as opposed to university. Okay, fourth house. All right, so if you have the sun in the fourth house, you have a strong tie to your home, your ancestry, your early childhood situations, yeah, definitely family and roots. So, again, depending on placement, you might have strong stories about your family of origin and traditions. You could have patterns where you just automatically do things because that's the way it's always been done. All right. Mercury hour now. All right, fifth house, creativity, performers, enjoys pleasure and romance. All right, so fifth house is children as well. You know, if you've got that sun in the fifth house, you could do anything from, have lots of children, be a childcare worker. You could be an artist because there's that creativity. You could just have passionate relationships. There's lots of stuff around that fifth house. It does also relate to food as well. So, you know, um, my brain right now is saying somebody who is a nutritionalist or a chef because of that fifth house placement, because it moves on to the sixth house, which is health, and food is part of that health routine that we look at, especially in medical astrology. All right, sixth house. Oh my gosh, I love this one. All right, so sixth house is traditionally the house of Virgo. So it is work-related activities, service orientated. All right, so it's service to yourself and others. It used to be the house of servants and people that serve you. But again, it's also how you serve others. It's a job rather than a career. All right, so the sixth house is the job that you do. So if you have that sun in the sixth house, then you could be really well known in your job, or you could have some sort of focused um focused experience, like people look up to you or people look to you for inspiration in that placement. All right, and also, like I said, it's our health and illness. So if you have something like the sun in the sixth house, then that service to yourself might be keeping up a good healthcare regime. And again, depending on the house placements, it could also indicate what area of your body that you may have health issues in. All right. So the seventh house, okay, so the seventh house is partnerships, but it's also, seeks identity through relationships. All right, so it's not just love relationships, it's when you work with people as well. So you could definitely have a prominent position in a partnership, or you could do well in partnerships because you are looking for balance. All right, so even though you could have the sun in, say, Gemini, then that seventh house placement might means that you're a good communicator across the board with the people that you work with in relation to a work experience. Sorry, getting a bit tongue-tied then. All right, the eighth house. Oh, love this one. All right, this is deep, transformative. All right, it is sex, death, and other people's money. All right, so it's the house where we could get inheritances, finances through inheritances. All right. Or maybe, if you have an eighth house placement, there could be a situation where I don't know, there's a natural tendency to have a lot of death in your life, and that's not a bad thing. It just means that, sometimes people have bigger families that are older, and so they do have that experience throughout their lives where they know what the passing of people and time is all about. All right, so again, the eighth house is the depths, but that is where the gold and jewels of the world reside. All right, you have to excavate, you have to actually look deeply to find those jewels of wisdom. All right, ninth house, seeker of truth. It is higher education. It is the judicial system. It is that spirituality that is, like I said, philosophy and your belief system. If you are the type of person that has spirit guides and you talk to your guides or whatever, then it's like the looking up to the universe to find the answers. All right. And also going on quests. I have a Sagittarian moon and I am just about to do my first solo quest. I'm going to drive from Tasmania to Sydney. I'm going to hang out there, do some intense personal transformation work. Sun in Scorpio in the ninth house. And, like just, it's so easy to live your blueprint, or, Astrology is the instruction manual that people say you never get an instruction manual. Well, you do. It's your natal chart. So, and it's very easy once you know what's there to live more authentically, because it's like, that's my jam. All right. So the philosopher, that was the ninth house. All right, the 10th house, ambition, career driven. It is the Capricorn house. It is the reputation for the effort that you put in. It is your status as a woman, because the fourth and 10th houses are your parent polarity. They can be interchangeable because, we know that sometimes, maybe the masculine partner is way more nurturing than the feminine partner. So I think it's interchangeable. So ambition, career, recognition. All right. So, and like I said, the parents. So depending on, say you have a dominant mum, then that son in the 10th house might be because you have a lot to do with them. They are a focus in your life. Or, like I said, you have a very strong purpose and career driven attitude, like you're always working towards a goal at work, or you want to achieve greatness. All right. And you'll do what is required. So that's the effort, the reward for the effort that you put in. All right. So that's a 10th house sun placement. All right, 11th house. All right, so the sun in the 11th, connected to groups, future orientation. So, you're always working towards your dreams, your friends, innovation, doing things differently, being really authentic. Aquarians are known as the weirdos, and that is not, that's not a bad thing, because who wants to fit in the box, be your authentic self and just do what you do, because you need to inspire other little Aquarians or other little 11th house placements that it's okay to be yourself. All right. So, yeah, very humanitarian and concerned with the crowd and the masses. When I was talking about that sun in Leo that wants to be up on stage and being seen and get the accolades, well, the opposite of that is walking around in the crowd and making sure that you find out what the crowd needs and having that focus on what other people need. All right. So actually that 11th house, just one that I sort of pop in there, is that it is an emotionally detached placement, but it's only because you're concerned with the bigger picture, right? It's not to say that you can't have emotional attachments. It just means you see a situation and there's a job to be done. All right. So I like that one. Now, the 12th house placement, mystical, spiritual, drawn to solitude and healing. Now, that 12th house it's also the place of our self-undoing. All right. So if you have a 12th house placement, then you could be really concerned with your psychology. You could be really curious about wanting to know what makes your mind tick. What are those foundations that I've built my life upon? And like I said, with that escapist tendencies, if we're not in a position to honor the fact that the sun wants us to shine its light in that shadowy place, then we could have problems like, oh my God, I can't look at that. And I'm just going to go do XYZ so I don't have to see it. All right. So definitely a place where, having counselors or, doing therapy, even when the sun transits that area, it's a time for you to stop and just sort of think about life. So if you have it, don't hide from it. It's actually the torch that you need to see how those thoughts are working. All right. So that is the sun through the houses, and the sun as the spotlight on your life. So I'm just going to pause this for 2 seconds. Okay, so now I'm back for the moon part of this class. All right, so now the moon. It's pretty self-explanatory. It is your feelings, your emotional state. All right, so your subconscious, like even though the 12th house is subconscious and the 8th house is the depths of your soul, that 4th house placement, when you are a child, you come out into the world as a clean slate, all right? And then because of the interactions that you have with your parents, all right, so the moon, then that is how you get taught emotions. All right. I mean, you're always going to have that blueprint, and children in the early years, they work out of their ascendant and their moon because they're learning. They don't know what the spotlight is on their life. So you might have a child that's a Leo, but they're shy because they haven't quite found that confidence yet. They're still sussing out the world, all right? So that ascendant, and they are in their emotions and they are learning how to express themselves. So when you've got, the sun and the moon in your chart are your parents. All right. So again, with that dominant and recessive, but not recessive, but dominant and more passive or nurturing parent, and that you could have two parents that are very, very similar, but the way that you react to them is different. All right. So it's your emotional landscape, how you process and express your feelings, your unconscious habits. All right. Again, these are your childhood conditionings. So, that emotional state puts little blips in your memories, that you have an emotional reaction to something, which causes like a grain of sand, just like that pearl analogy. It places a grain of sand in your memory, and from that memory you then play the tapes of life. So you find yourself X amount of years later replaying this tape. Maybe it's a narrative or it's a habit, and it comes from an emotional experience that you had back there. All right. So that's when we get to go into the eighth house and dig and find that pearl of wisdom, take it out and rename it something else, or make it more relevant to the emotions that you are having in this day and age, not when you were a scared 3-year-old or a teenager that has had that emotional moon experience. All right. So it is also what makes you feel safe, secure, and nurtured. All right. And as I was saying, it could be the mother, but I think they're interchangeable. Your deepest needs and emotional responses. All right. So now in the elements, so in fire signs being Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they are very expressive, but they also have quick tempers and they are very passionate. All right. So just think of that emotional, fire driven passion. All right. So, right. Earth signs. God love it. Earth sign. All right. Emotionally stable, very, very value and security orientated. They might not want to get out of the comfort zones at all. All right. So they are slow to open up because they're sussing it out, just like it takes a long time for a mountain to grow. Sometimes people with earth moons can just takes them a minute to sort of get involved, because they want to be sure that they're going to be safe and secure. All right, air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. All right, so these guys being all up in their head. Now, for Aquarius, I said detached emotions. So air signs, maybe because it's so quick that they have to catch up to their emotions. All right. There's also intellectual processing and social connections. Again, it's very fast, and doesn't really stop at one sort of point a lot unless the wind is still. All right. So we can have fast and slow uh, planetary expressions as well. I'm not going to get into that right now, but just the wind analogy made me sort of think of that point. You can have, yeah, there we go. All right. And obviously, water signs, they are deeply emotionally sensitive with a strong intuition, but they can also be moody. All right. Because they are a water emotion. They can get broody. Like think of, like say a fire sign as your moon. You could, that passion that builds could just have you cracking the shits, because it's got to have some sort of outlet. It's like boiling water. All right. So there we go. All right. So now let's have a look at the moon through the houses. All right. So first house moon, emotionally expressive, wears their heart on their sleeve. First house, you see that moon. You're like, oh, that person is very emotional. All right. Even with transits. So this sort of works for the transits through the houses as well. You might have a day where, the moon's going through your 12th house and you're very emotional, or the 4th house or the 8th house. Um, you know, it's a passing thing. That's, we have the phases of the moon, we have phases of emotions too. All right, second house, you need to feel safe. You need to feel it financially secure. Because if you don't feel that emotional security, then you're going to be like, oh my God, right now, I know someone that has got their moon at 23 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus has just stationed direct at 23 degrees Taurus. And he has been so unsettled, and so like fearful because he's getting shook. Uranus is changing everything, and he's just like, oh my God, I can't handle this, because he wants stability. He doesn't want that ground to rock beneath his feet. So same thing, if you have any planetary transits to your moon, depending on what that planetary transit expresses, you're going to be feeling that emotionally as well. So, if you are unsettled somehow, then just, reach out and have a look at maybe something's touching your moon. All right. So, the third house communicates emotions very well. All right. They are, again, like the air signs, very quick, moody shifts. All right. Just, maybe maybe they have a little bit of a meh, and then they're off onto the next thing. All right. Fourth house, deep emotional connections to the home and family. All right. Someone with a fourth house moon, it's different from the sun. Obviously, the sun just could be that you are required to do things, whereas the moon, you are emotionally connected to that moon, like that house placement. All right, you are like, maybe you are the child that has to look after the aging parents. Maybe you are an older sibling that has to look after younger siblings. They're just that emotional connection to the home. Actually, I'm just sort of thinking about, maybe you've always had a childhood home that you grew up with, forever and ever and ever, and you have some sort of transit to the moon and you have to sell that house. Or, just think of it like that, or you always think of that family home that we had that was awesome. I don't know. Anyway, fourth house, emotional connection to home. All right, fifth house finds emotional fulfillment in creativity and children and romance. Again, someone with a fifth house moon is just going to be, where's the kids? I need my cuddles. Or, when they have spare time, their love of water paint, what is it? Not pastels. Oh my God, my brain. Watercolors, that's it, watercolors. Maybe you like to, when you're feeling, you like to sit down and paint it out. Or, maybe the moon in Leo in the fifth house, you like to write songs that express your emotions that can be sung on stage. There's so many different ways to look at it, but there we go. All right, Sun in the sixth house. Again, you are emotionally connected to your service to other people. You may have a life where it is your challenge or something that you need to develop a good sense of care and nurturing for yourself. Maybe you really easily brush off your self-responsibility because I'm too busy doing things for other people. So the lesson here is to learn to love and nurture and self-care yourself. All right, again, or you might be the person that people turn to in your job when they want to, oh my God, this thing happened to me. So they come to you for emotional support at work. So there's a lot of ways to look at it, but there's a couple right there. All right. Seventh house, moon. Okay, you seek your emotional security in partnerships. All right, so I do love this because you can be emotionally present for people, but depending on what's there, it could be that you need to learn to not be codependent. All right, so depending on, maybe you've got an Aries moon in the seventh house and you want relationships, but you want to be the boss all the time. Or, maybe there's, I don't know, a Pisces moon in the seventh house. You need to blend in and meld in with your partners. And there's that codependency type of experience where you're like, no, I need to learn to stand on my own in a relationship, not just be codependent. Okay. Eighth house moon, deep, intense, emotional intensity. All right. This is the type of moon placement that loves a good, juicy conversation. You know, bring it to me. Like, tell me what's going on for you. Let me help you. Let me join you in that feeling. All right. So now the eighth house does bring up topics around trauma as well. So, this could be an indicator of the type of trauma that you need to work on in your life. And again, we are here on this earth to learn lessons. So when you look at your natal chart as things that need to be worked on, the experiences that you have make a whole lot more sense because, you grow, you survive, you learn. And then, that eighth house placement places deeper meaning on those experiences because of the value of the golden jewels that they get out of that experience. Okay. So wisdom gained. All right. Ninth house, an emotional need for freedom and adventure. I know this one. I know this one's so good. And like I was saying with the earlier thing, I'm just about to go on my own heroine's quest because it's not a hero's journey. It's my heroine's quest. I'm doing this in conjunction with Venus in Aries retrograde. And so somebody with a ninth house moon, they might just love learning. They might want to, constantly be going on adventures, depending on what it's in. It could be with others, it could be on their own. They could be wanting to go and find that, that what is the answers to the universe by going into the bush on adventures and quests like that. So I love that one as well. 10th house, career orientated. You could be very emotionally invested in your purpose and your career. All right. You may gain emotional satisfaction for a job well done. You might put your heart and soul into your career. And, therefore, the rewards that you get are not just financial, but they are, soul satisfying type of experiences. All right. 11th house, you need to feel secure within the groups that you associate with. You need to have friendships that are a heartfelt connection. You might have endeavors that you want to do in life, like, there's that innovation, that future orientated thing. You could also, I don't know, you might want to go and work in South Africa, helping, the humanitarian sort of type things. I don't know. That's where your heart may lay, in service to others, as in a humanitarian way, not like in a Virgo way where you are making sure their every needs in the everyday. All right. So sixth house is more of an everyday type service, whereas that 11th house is the bigger picture type of service. All right. And the 12th house moon, all right, it is a deep need for solitude because you are the ponderers, all right? So that moon placement in the 12th house is, the feeling of the emotional connections and those thoughts that you have. This again with the escapist tendencies and the deep, deep spirituality, once you start to pay attention to the narrative, then you can very easily move away from those escapist tendencies and into the spiritual lessons of things because you are acknowledging where that desire to escape came from. I hope that makes sense. So, it's related to Pisces. So, you could also, 12th house placement, you could work in hospitals or institutions. There's also, that sort of aspect to the 12th house, institutions. Yeah. So I hope that this has covered your sun and moon placement. Now, like I was saying earlier on, this is the part of this teaching is part of my Tuesday class. Now I'm going to go back to the ladies that are on the live with me now, and we're going to look at their moon placements. So if this is something that you would like to do, then just put a thing in the comments and I'll get back to you, or you can go to bridgetsastrology.com.au and yeah, have a look for the weekly astro coaching tab. So thank you so much, and I will see you next week.